Alright, so I paused the game between the Columbus Crew versus the New York Red Bulls at halftime because I want to do the review of all 11 games that happened yesterday before I watch the next game, which is between the Seattle Sounders versus Austin FC, as that game will kick off at 4:55 p.m. Eastern Time and 1:55 p.m. Pacific Time. And once I finish doing the review of these 11 games, I of course will resume the second half of the Red Bulls versus Crew game, and most likely that game, by the time I resume it, it will maybe overlap a little bit of the Sounders versus Austin FC, but that should be no problem. I mean, keeping track of 2 games should be relatively easy compared to, sometimes I keep track like 4 or 5 games at a time. But that being said, looking at the 11 games that happened yesterday, well, if you were a goalkeeper, unless your name is not Zach McNabb, yeah, it was not a good day for you. I mean, we definitely saw a lot of goalkeeping mistake yesterday and a lot of goals that, yeah, I feel like some of these goalkeepers, and even some of these best goalkeeper in the league should have saved. But we also saw kind of an expected occurrence where a lot of these MLS team that was in CCO in the middle of the week, they struggle. I mean, the free MLS team that was in CCO heading into the Saturday action, they finished with an 0-2-1 record, or actually an 0-1-2 record. None of them, of course, get a win, and we even saw one team that just completely collapsed in the second half of their game, which we'll, of course, get to that one. But let us actually begin with the first game, which is FC Cincinnati versus Inter Miami. And for FC Cincinnati, they only got their second home win at TQL Stadium after knocking off Inter Miami in this game. Now, it was expected that, for Cincinnati, after that very, very surprising win against Orlando City to end their 14-game losing streak, that coming into this game at home against Miami, they have a chance to once again get another win, and that's exactly what they did. And they got on the score sheet early in this one as Matarrita would open his goal-scoring account from Vasquez and Acosta to give Cincinnati a 1-0 lead. 6 minutes later, it would be 2-0 in favor of Cincinnati, as Vasquez would score for Matarrita and Blackets to make it 2-0 in favor of Miami. Yeah, this was not a great moment for a Calendar who was stepping in for Clement Diop in this one. I mean, he basically was a little bit hesitant in terms of whether or not should he come off his lines to punch that one away, and because of that hesitation, he didn't get there in time, and Vasquez was able to head that one before Linda was able to had a chance to punch that one away. But how about Brandon Vasquez? I mean, he has been a man in form to begin the season, and we kind of saw this coming with the way that if you look at the latter part of the season when this Cincinnati team was still struggling, he was really one of the few bright positive in that he was still scoring goals for this team at a really good rate. And heading into this season, if you look at his first 2 games, even he didn't score a goal. There was a lot of times where he could have done it, and if his finishing was a little bit better, he could have maybe scored at least 5 or 6 goals. But now it seems like once he finally break that curse of him not able to finish those chances that he had in the early season, we started to see a red-hot striker, and maybe there could be a discussion that, I don't know if he is going to be in the discussion in terms of making the World Cup squad, but maybe as we head into January after the World Cup, there could be a case where Brandon Vasquez continued this form of run. He could maybe in the January training camp for the U.S. and maybe be look at the national team. Now, in the 28th minute, there was a PK for Miami after Matarrita brought down Yetland in the box, which Gonzalo Higuain was able to score the penalty, and Miami was back into this game. And they had a chance to get the equalizer as Mota bends it just wide from the free kick. As mentioned, they pushed for the equalizer at halftime, but we head to the second half with Cincinnati leading 2-1 in this game. Now, in the second half, Acosta hit one high in the 68th minute. Calenda then denied Brenner on the volley, and Cincinnati, they were trying to push to get this third goal to kill this game, because I'm pretty sure if you're a Cincinnati fan, a 2-1 lead is not safe with this team. Like, this team, that they're going to do something at the end of the game that will break the heart and spirit of your team. And in the 78th minute, they had a chance to get that third goal to pretty much put this game to ice, as a penalty was given to Cincinnati this time after Lowe brought down Vasquez in the box. In fact, there was actually 2 separate incident in that play that could have been called a penalty, and I guess that one of the incident, which is the one I wrote here on the board, was deserved to be a penalty. But yeah, Cincinnati had a chance to put this one away. Lucho Acosta basically tried to do so, and then he put one of the worst penalty we've seen this season and puts a it wide from the spot. I mean, you know it's a bad penalty when you see a player either blast it over the bar or puts it wide on a penalty kick show, you know it is a very bad one. And at that point, I also kind of wrote, yep, is this Cincinnati having one of those bad luck days? Because I'm pretty sure every Cincinnati fans after saw that Lucho Acosta miss know that, well, here we go again. We've seen this story before. I'm ready for once again this team to break my heart, and somehow Miami would score like 2 goals to win the game. But thankfully, that did not happen. Though it almost did happen in the 80th minute if it wasn't for Alec Khan denying Gregory from close range. I mean, if this was last year, they would have conceded that goal. And, you know, I've talked about before where for Alec Khan, despite the fact that he had that nightmare debut with Cincinnati, you know, there's a reason why you can't always judge a player just on their debut for your club. I mean, there are some player that has amazing debut, and then they turns out to not be the player that they saw on the debut. And then there's time where maybe players have nightmare debuts and turns out to be decent. And I feel like Khan is basically kind of the latter, where, you know, despite that nightmare debut, he has really been a huge upgrade to the goalkeepers that Cincinnati has had in the last 2 seasons with Titan and also Vermeer. And again, if Vermeer and Titan wasn't net for that, I think that would have went in and the game would have been tied at 2 apiece, and the storyline would once again be Cincinnati blowing the leads and finding a way to draw points. But instead, in the 82nd minute, they would eventually score that 3rd goal and make amends of the penalty kick miss, as Vasquez would score his 2nd goal. So back-to-back game that Brendan Vasquez has scored a brace, as he scored here from Matarrita and Kubo to make it 3-1 in favor of FC Cincinnati, and that would be the final score of this game. As the shots in this one, 15 shots compared to 13 that Miami has, 6 shots on goal compared to 2 that Miami has, 5 shots off target compared to 7 that Cincy has, 6 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that Cincy had, and both teams had 50% possession each in this one. But yeah, for FC Cincinnati, this is one of those rare back-to-back wins that they had. I mean, they rarely has had any back-to-back wins. I think last season they did have that one period where they have back-to-back wins, and albeit, yes, it's against an Inter Miami team that, I mean, alongside with the San Jose Earthquakes, there's a right that their fan base are pissed off about their team and maybe are already giving up on their team of how big of a mess it is. But, you know, for FC Cincinnati, wins has been come at a few and come at a premium, and I'm pretty sure Cincinnati fans will definitely enjoy that, and maybe, just maybe, a small optimism that things are going to be better for this team, and that this team is not going to be wooden spoon contender heading into this new season. I mean, they already got 6 points so far this year, and already I think they move up in a spot where I think they're actually now above the playoff line in the Eastern Conference. And, you know, I know, again, it's early days, but, you know, I feel like for Cincinnati fans, with all the bad luck that they suffered, they deserve to at least have some happiness and have some hope after getting back-to-back wins in these last 2 games after losing back-to-back games in such a heartbreaking fashion. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is NYCFC versus the Philadelphia Union. So again, this was one of those games where an MLS team in CCL were playing on a short week against a relatively good team, and unsurprisingly, they did not get the victory at the end. Though I will say that, you know, this was also one of the game that kind of maybe sums up a little bit of the early season problem that NYCFC has, and that is finishing. I mean, there's been times where I've seen NYCFC has played well in some of these games, but the finishing just kind of let them down, and this was an example of that. Early on in the 4th minute, Magno hits one straight to Blake before in the 12th minute. The Union would take the lead. It's the captain, Bedoya, scoring from Carenza and Wagner to give the Union a 1-0 lead. It was almost 2-0 when Jack Elliott hits one just high in the 18th minute, and there was no doubt that I thought the Union start out the better side in this one. Elliott then hits a one-hopper straight to, not Blake, it's actually to Johnson there. I wrote the wrong goalkeeper there. I mean, he didn't just try to score an own goal against his goalkeeper, did he? And then in the 28th minute, it looked like NYCFC had a chance to get the equalizer when a penalty was given to them after Elliott basically brought down, I forgot which NYCFC player it was, but it was also worthy of enough that he, of course, got a red card, which, you know, for me, I feel like that was kind of a little harsh because, you know, Elliott, you know, there's that rule, of course, the double jeopardy rule, and I feel like Elliott clearly had tried to attempt to win the ball there, and that, you know, maybe that should have been a yellow card, but They did go to VAR to see, not because of that, but whether or not if Rodriguez actually handballed that one as he was trying to bring the ball down to him. And I'll tell you what, that was very close. Like, I feel like maybe that was close enough where there wasn't enough evidence to overturn that. But you know about VAR in MLS, that it tends to sometimes be inconsistent, and that sometimes even some of the things that maybe are not clear and obvious, and somehow it will be overturned depending on which VAR crew is in charge. And it seems like this VAR crew feels like even the smallest thing that doesn't seem like clear and obvious is clearly clear and obvious. So this call, of course, was overturned, and Jack Elliott, probably the most relief man at Yankee Stadium in this game, as he had his red card retributed there. And you know that no penalty call for NYCFC really kind of damaged their spirit, because literally a minute after that no PK call, the Union would get their second goal, and it's Gastak scoring from Harrio to give the Union a 2-0 lead. Carinza tried to make it 3-0, but he heads one right into the side netting. And again, NYCFC, they look like they were rattled. Like they and I don't blame them, considering, you know, when you had a chance to tie the game up and then it's taken away because of a controversial call, it's very hard to try to get your mind resetted. And it was pretty clear that they were definitely rattled for at least 7 to 8 minutes after that PK, of course, give up. And unfortunately, they also gave up a goal during that period. Though by the time when they did started to get refocused, they tried to get one back right on the stroke of halftime. Jason hits one straight into the side netting before Parks hits one high from close range. And then Parks missed just wide from close range, and a chance that, yeah, I feel like Keaton Parks should bury that one away. I mean, Keaton Parks is not known to be a goal scorer, but that's one that it's right there where you expect him to bury it. But then on the other end, Santos almost scored the third goal for the Union right on the stroke of halftime, but the goal, of course, was disallowed for offside, so we head to halftime with Philadelphia leading 2-0 against NYCFC. Now in the second half, the Union continued to trying to get that third goal, but it was NYCFC, the one that had a big opportunity in the 62nd minute, and this was a heroic clearance by Harrio to clear Castellanos' header off the line. I mean, if he wasn't there to clear that one off the line, that one would have been in the back, and it would have been 2-1 in favor of the Union. But there was no doubt that NYCFC was upping the pressure, and this is when the Union started to kind of bunker a little bit, which is expected because you're on the road and you try to hold on to a 2-0 lead. You want to try to shut things down and hope to get all 3 points by absorbing all the pressure. Hebert hits one straight to Blake in the 70th minute, before in the second minute of stoppage time, Hebert hits it just wide. And I think that shot kind of just summarized NYCFC day, where it was just not NYCFC day once again. I mean, the numerous chances that they had in this game, they just aren't able to capitalize on that. Castellanos then hits it high from 6 yards out in the fourth minute of stoppage time. I mean, even if you score that one, that goal would be more like a consolation goal. And it was also another frustrating day for Tati Castellanos in the league, where, you know, we know he can of course score goals in terms of CCL play, but in the league, yeah, he I don't think he has scored a goal so far this season in league play, and that you know this is another game where he's going to go without a goal because of the way that he did not ends up on the score sheet. But yeah, in the end, the Union was able to walk away with a 2-0 road win against NYCFC, and the shots in this one, 18 shots compared to 13 that the Union has, 4 shots on goal compared to 3 that NYCFC had, 10 shots off target compared to 7 that the Union has, 5 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that Philly has, and possession-wise, 27% possession compared to 73% possession that NYCFC has in this game. But yeah, you know, for the Philly Union, they definitely are living up to expectation. And you know, I did say that this team was going to finish the top of the Eastern Conference, and right now I think they're very close in terms of that. In fact, at the time of speaking, I think they're actually now at the top of the Eastern Conference. I mean, I usually never check the standings this early in the season, but with the way that I don't think they have lost a game this season. I mean, I know they got a win against Montreal, and now they got a win against NYCFC and the San Jose Earthquakes. I think their record is now at 3-0-1. So yeah, I think that should be enough for them to be at the top of the Eastern Conference. And yeah, like I said, you know, I was expecting this team to do well, because knowing Jim Curtin and knowing the fact that this is a very deep team, this is definitely a team that could basically challenge for the top spot in the Eastern Conference. And at least in the early part of the season, that of course has been the case. But now, moving on, in terms of the next match, is Toronto and DC United. So this actually did not get off to a good start for TFC in this one. Like, this looked like it was doom and gloom early with the way that DC got the early lead, but then it seemed like TFC kind of started to figure out as the game goes along, and they in the end were able to come from behind to get a big 2-1 victory and their first win of the season. Early on, Hamid was able to deny Nelson from close range, but then in the 10th minute, DC would take the lead as Russell Canals would score from Roberta to give DC a 1-0 lead, and that was just optional defending from TFC. I mean, this season, I think it pretty much once again is a huge issue for this TFC team, where the defense basically at times was non-existent, and it showed once again where how in the world did they let Canals wide open there in the box with just no defending whatsoever, and then just 3 minutes later it could have been 2-0 if Roberta would have able to hit that one on target from close range, and again just no defending whatsoever from TFC early, because Roberto was just wide open there from close range, and if you would have put that one on target, I'm pretty sure that crowd at BMO Field know what's coming. I mean, it looks like it's a repeat of the Red Bulls versus TFC once again. But then the 15th minute, Jimenez then fired one high from close range, but in the 24th minute, TFC got the equalizer, and it's Pozuelo opening his goal-scoring account of 2022 from Petrasso to tie the game at 1 apiece. And I talk about the bad defending for TFC. This was also bad defending for DC United. Like, the way that this one come from a set piece, and that nobody marked Pozuelo there in the box. Like, when you let Pozuelo unmark in the box, you are basically asked to be scoring, because we know Pozuelo do not miss a lot of those chances, and he definitely did not here. And yeah, the game was tied up at 1 apiece. DC tried to take the lead back when Edison Forrest tried to hit one from close range, but he missed that one high, and we head to halftime with the score tie at 1 apiece between TFC and DC United. Now, in the second half, Flores puts it wide from 23 yards out, but Osorio would score for TFC from Petrasso and Pozuelo. Petrasso had a really good game in this one, and weren't on the score sheet, but definitely was on the assist chart with 2 assists here and involving both of the goals. And yeah, TFC was up 2-1 up to that point. Nelson almost made it 3-1 as he hits one straight to Hamid before Hamid denied Pozuelo as TFC. They looked like they were in complete control of this game. I mean, DC, despite they had some good momentum in the first half and they looked good, in the second half, they were pretty much shut down by this TFC team, and that this defense that was pretty bad in the first half. I mean, I'm pretty sure Bob Bradley must have said something to this defense at the halftime speech, because they definitely look much more organized heading into the second half. Yao then hits one straight to Bono before Achara puts it wide from close range at the 85th minute, and there was not really much pushback from DC to try to salvage a point. I mean, you would expect that when you're down on the road, you maybe want to have a late push to try to get the equalizer, but that just never happened. Though O'Neal did had a chance in the 86th minute. Well, it wasn't really a chance, because he just completely missed that one badly, puts it way wide from close range, and kind of a shot that summarized DC day, especially in the second half of this game. And yeah, in the end, TFC getting the first win of the season, first win for Bob Bradley in charge of Toronto FC, as the shots in this one, 9 shots for the 12 that DC had, 6 shots on goal for the 5 that DC had, 3 shots off target for the 5 that DC had, no shots that was blocked for the 2 that DC had, and possession-wise, 50% each for both of these teams. And again, for TFC, a huge victory. Consider how, the start of the Bob Bradley era with Toronto has not got off to a great start, but, with this win, they can, of course, realize that they can finally get off the snot and getting their first win. But for DC, it seems like, yeah, that first 2 game where they were able to start the season with back-to-back wins, it started to look like maybe they're not as good as what we saw. And we kind of knew it. Like, if you would have told me in the first 2 games of the season and look at all these unbeaten team, or all these teams that have won their first 2 games, who was the biggest pretender out of those? I would have said DC United, because they got a really soft schedule to start the season. I mean, they play Charlotte in a game where I feel like they were kind of fortunate that they got the win because of some deflection and a penalty. And then when they do play against Inter Miami, I mean, the state that Inter Miami is in. So yeah, it feels like now that when they are starting to play some strong team, and in some way, even when they are playing some good teams right now. Well, not really even that good team because we still don't know about how Toronto is, especially that defense, and then Chicago obviously being a team with a new head coach and pretty much with some new signings still trying to get together. This is definitely a concern for DC because they are going to face tougher team than this, and with the way that they have not done well so far, at least in the last two games, yeah, that there is definitely some concern after getting off to such a positive start. But that being said, moving on into the next game, we got the Owie Galaxy versus Orlando City. And if Galaxy fans thought that it was frustrating last week against the Sounders, where they were the better team and they weren't able to get all 3 points, yeah, this week that frustration level just ticks to probably times 100. Because in this game, this was one of those rare games where you see one team gets the early goal and then they decide to kind of bunker for the rest of the game, and they did it well and did it successfully to able to get all 3 points. Because early on in this game, the Galaxy tried to push for an early goal. Revulsion puts it wide from close range before Galese was able to deny Revulsion. I mean, little do we know that those first 2 chances, at that point we thought that this is the Galaxy started to put down the foot and trying to score maybe 2 or 3 goals against Orlando City. But little do we know that this was actually the biggest problem for the Galaxy in this game, where they just had so many chances in this game and they weren't able to put one into the back of the net. And it isn't really just because of Galese, but stood on his heads like he sometimes do with Orlando City, but it was just some of those bad misses where they didn't even put one on target. And I'll kind of talk a little bit more about that once we get to the stats count of this game. But like I said, the Galaxy was on the front foot early. Chicharito couldn't quite toe poke one in from a cross that was sending from Cabral. But then on the other end, Torres was able to score his first career MLS goal from Cara and Juan to give Orlando City a 1-0 lead. And by the way, Twitter, they almost missed this goal. I mean, I think it would have been such a classic thing for Twitter to miss this goal, because of how Twitter are terrible in terms of broadcasting their game, and especially they do like their Mexican players, so that they definitely want to spend extra time in terms of showing a replay of Chicharito. Couldn't quite toe poke that one in, but by the time they got back to live action, I mean, Torres basically heads that one in. We didn't even see the cross or even the assist that Cara basically delivered to Facundo Torres there. I mean, it was just us seeing Torres basically hitting into the back of the net, and yeah, I mean, that was almost a classic Twitter moment where it would have been so Twitter for us to miss the only goal of this game. But nevertheless, as I said, Orlando was up 1-0 in this game, and do we also know that would actually be the only goal of this game, because after this, Orlando really went to full bunker mode. Galese was able to deny Chicharito, and then on the follow-up, Cabral tried to scorpion kick one, but missed just wide there. I mean, Kevin Cabral had a nightmare game in this one. Revulsion then fired it high as the Galaxy were looking to try to press for a tie, and again, Orlando was going into full bunker mode. The Galaxy then started to look one-dimensional as the half come. I mean, I thought, as the half goes, and the way that, they were creating some chances, not only the fact that they were very slow on the attack, but they just looked really one-dimensional and looked like the Galaxy from a couple years ago, where they would just keep pumping aimless crosses and hope that something, of course, will work out. Now, back then, they still had Zlatan, and we know that Zlatan can be a guy that when you pump in the cross in, he can definitely hits that one in. But they don't have a Zlatan nowadays, and Chicharito is not known to basically score header goal. So it was kind of weird, the fact that they just keep pumping crosses in, and Orlando, they were pretty comfortable with it. Like, they expected the Galaxy was trying to pump in some aimless crosses, and they were prepared pretty much every one of those aimless crosses that was coming in. Not that some of those aimless crosses was even in a dangerous position for one of these Galaxy players to score the equalizer in this one. But yeah, we head to halftime with Orlando taking a 1-0 lead, and in the second half, Delgado had a crucial block on Matinho's shot, as that was really a rare attack that Orlando City has had in this game. Cabral then had a header that missed wide from close range before he had another opportunity in the 59th minute, and this opportunity pretty much just sums up Kevin Cabral's day. I mean, he had a chance to strike from 17 yards out, and he just flat out slipped as he trying to strike that one in. Edwards then puts it wide from 17 yards out before Chicharito also puts it wide in the same distance just a couple of minutes later. And this is also when I basically started to write, is this one of these days again for the Galaxy? And knowing the fact that sometime when I write that, this maybe is good news for Galaxy fans, because when I write that either the Galaxy might get a goal, or maybe the opposition would get a goal. But that doesn't seem like was the case, because in the 72nd minute, Edwards fires one wide from long range before Efrain Alvarez fired one straight to Galese and actually hit that spot, which I won't talk about what that spot is, but it's definitely a spot that you do not want to get hit if you don't want to experience some extreme pain effect after you got hit with that spot. In the 83rd minute, Chicharito puts it high from close range. I mean, Chicharito had a lot of chances in this game, and that it seems like in this game he gone back to his first season form, where no matter what he tried, he just could not able to show his clinical finishing. Before there was a shout for a penalty for the Galaxy late in this game, and that's before Alvarez trying to curl one in, but he puts that one into Roseanne, and yeah, in the end, Orlando, well, the rare time we see a team that kind of bunker on the road from the minute 10 and able to come away with a 1-0 win. And this also was a big win for Orlando City in a way where they finally kind of defeat a curse that they had in terms of traveling to the West Coast. I mean, during the Twitter broadcast, they mentioned the fact that Orlando City not only has struggled against teams in the Western Conference and traveling into Pacific Standard Time, but they actually have not got a win against a team in Pacific Standard Time since 2015, their expansion year. Well, that finally comes to an end after a 1-0 win against the Galaxy. And the shots in this one, the Galaxy had 20 shots compared to just 6 that Orlando City has. But this is the problem. They only had 3 of them on goal. And again, those shots that they had, they weren't really challenging Galese, say, enough. And hence, that's kind of one of the examples why they didn't get that equalizer at all in this game. They had 10 shots off target for the 2 that Orlando City has. 2 shots that was blocked for the 7 that the Galaxy had. And possession-wise, 63% possession compared to 37% possession that Orlando City has in this game. And, this is also going to be another problem that the Galaxy is going to face as the season goes along. Because, we know that coming into this season, the defense is definitely an issue. But I feel like now maybe some people have underestimated how the attack can also sometimes be an issue for this Galaxy team, because when you look at this team, they don't really have a lot of goal scored besides Chicharito and maybe Douglas Costa. And by the way, is this going to be very surprised to tell you that Douglas Costa actually came off of halftime with an injury? I mean, after all, I did say that he was a very injury prone player, and it seems like that kind of example was struck again in this one. But yeah, going forward, I think this is going to be even a bigger issue with the way that if Chicharito is not on his game, which he clearly isn't, nobody on this team really can step up. And if Galaxy fans think Kevin Cabral is going to be that player, then they are completely wrong. And I also have now heard that a lot of Galaxy fans are fed up with Kevin Cabral, and rightfully so. He had a terrible game in this one with just so many missed chances, and yeah, we'll see in the future. Let's see what they're going to do, and especially in the summer, we'll see whether if they're going to maybe be signing another attacker, because again, this has been an issue that maybe isn't really on the surface, because it's very easy to say that the biggest issue for this team is the defense, but when there is times where their offense is not showing up, that can also be a bit of an issue too. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the next 4 games that happened in terms of the Saturday action on week number 4 of the MLS regular season. So moving on in terms of the next game. So you know how whenever a team went up 3-1 and they had a man advantage in the last 15 minutes, most of the time you think, yeah, that should be a victory for a team that is up a man and has that 3-1 advantage heading into the last 15 minute, right? Well, if there's one thing we know about this season, and if you're a neutral watching these kind of games, I think one thing we know is that you should not turn off your TV when that happened, because it happened again in this one. I mean, it happened a couple of weeks ago in that game between the Quakes and Columbus, where the Quakes were able to come from behind to tie the game 3 apiece after going down a man and being at a 3-1 disadvantage heading into the last 10 minutes. And it happened in this one, and this time it was Atlanta, the one that kind of did the Quakes moment against Montreal. And in some way, I feel like this game also kind of sums up the early season problem that this Montreal team is. Like, as soon as it feels like if there is some slight adversity that Montreal has faced, Wilfried Nancy team just kind of completely crumble, and it happened again in this one. Though early on in the first half, Martinez was able to give Atlanta a 1-0 lead. And also early on, I thought, when Joseph Martinez scores this early goal, I'm just thinking, yep, this looks like it's going to be going according to the script, because I didn't give Montreal a lot of chance in this one after their disappointed second leg game against Cruz Azul, and that they're pretty much still a little bit deflated. Though that being said, that goal that Joseph Martinez scored, it really was an absolute gift that Montreal basically presented after just a WTF turnover that happened. And when you turn the ball over in Atlanta half, yeah, that usually does not lead to some good things. And that, of course, was the case in this one, as Montreal was punished by committing that turnover in their own half. But then just 22 minutes later, Montreal actually got the equalizer, and it's Mihajlovic that scores from Kone to tie the game up at 1 apiece. And I wrote Atlanta went full Quakes, because this was a very Quakes moment where, how when you look at the Quakes, and sometimes where the Quakes decide to put everybody forward from a corner, and then they basically get caught on the counterattack because they had no man covering back in case if the opposition decide to go on a counterattack after they win the first ball from the corner. Well, this was an example again, where again the Atlanta basically put everybody forward, and that there was really nobody back to trying to stop a potential counterattack. And once that, of course, happened, Montreal was on the other end. And I also heard that there's some people saying that how in the world did Mihajlovic was able to stay onside when it was pretty clear that he was beyond the last defender. Well, here's the thing. He was in his own half. And when you're in your own half, you cannot be offside. Like, the offside rule only apply if you're on the opposition half, and because of the fact that Mihajlovic was in his own half, that is not going to count as offside, and therefore that's why Mihajlovic was able to go one-on-one with the goalkeeper. And originally he was going to try to do the unselfish play to play it back to the middle, but he saw that Guzan kind of already committed. He decided to just slot it in. And yeah, that game, of course, tied up at 1 apiece. And then not long after, Montreal would take the lead. And it's Kone who scored from Lappanainen and Mihajlovic to make it 2-1 in favor of Montreal. And in some way, Kone is making amends after the fact that it was him, the one that kind of commit that WTF turnover. And he's definitely have make amends with him being on the assist chart and also scoring a goal in this one. And in the 38th minute, there was a penalty that was given to Montreal, as Robinson actually brought down Kone in the box, which Kyoto was able to score on the penalty spot to make it 3-1 in favor of Atlanta. That's definitely not good news for U.S. men's national team fan, knowing the fact that Miles Robinson is one of the players that is going to start being in this final World Cup qualifying window, and to see him make such a sloppy mistake like that, yeah, it does not give a lot of confidence in terms of whether if the national team is going to get that good defensive reinforcement as we've seen in the past. But there was no doubt that Atlanta was looking like complete shell shock. Like, this game completely flipped the script with the way that it looked like early on Atlanta was going to really destroy Montreal in this game, to now Montreal the one that was destroying Atlanta, and that Atlanta just completely capitulated. And it could have been 4-1 if it wasn't for Guzan able to deny Kyoto right on the stroke of halftime. But nevertheless, we head to halftime with Montreal leading 3-1 against Atlanta. In the second half, I think Pineda kind of was a little bit fed up with the way that his team was playing and kind of capitulate, so he decided to bring some reinforcement as Campbell, Amada, and Moreno was summoned from the bench. That kind of worked at least for a bit, as Martinez missed wide from close range before Gutman hits one straight into the side netting, and I thought, Atlanta started to look like Atlanta again, started to look confident and look to try to pull one back. Though that, again, didn't last very long, because in the 60th minute, Montreal kind of got the momentum back in their favor, as Lappinainen missed just wide from 10 yards out. And, talk about them getting the momentum back. This pretty much what we thought was the killer moment for Atlanta having any chance of coming back. And that, of course, is Dom Dwyer. Basically put a studs-up challenge on Torres there. I mean, there was no doubt that's a straight red card. And by the way, Dwyer actually just come on for Atlanta a couple of minutes ago. So this is a classic example of how not to be a substitute coming off the bench, which is just come on in the game and then just 3 minutes later decided to make a stupid challenge like what Dom Dwyer made here, and basically are sent back to the dressing room for an early shower. But, I also wrote Atlanta is kind of back in that despair stage, and, the fans at has started to kind of lose faith. I mean, they were very loud when Atlanta was trying to push to get that second goal, but as soon as that red card happened, you know that they pretty much lost all hope that this team was going to come back. And on the 76th minute, Guzan was able to deny Kyoto from close range again as Montreal. They were trying to push to try to get the fourth goal, but then in the 85th minute, there was some life for Atlanta because Amada would score what could be the goal of the week this week. I mean, knowing Atlanta fans and them love to stuff the vote on the goal of the week contention, this is definitely going to be the goal of the week. And if it is, it's definitely a great goal because Amada basically struck this one so sweetly from outside the box. And also, what a way for him to score his first career MLS goal in terms of striking that one. But yeah, that was definitely some life for Atlanta. And I also wrote that, yeah, Montreal's in trouble because we've seen this story before where as soon as they face a little bit of adversity, they completely capitulate. And it looked like late on in this game, as soon as they conceded the goal, they kind of went into panic mode where they were trying to maybe bunker to try to hold on to a 3-2 lead, even though they were like a man up. That was kind of weird to see. And to no one's surprise, they would eventually tie or they eventually would give up that equalizer as Atlanta would tie it in the second minute of stoppage time. And it's Brooks Lennon that was able to tie the game up at 3 apiece. I mean, it was a great free kick from Brooks Lennon, but you gotta question Sebastian Breeza here. I mean, he got completely caught flat-footed on the free kick. I guess he was maybe trying to guess where the free kick is taken, and not only the fact that he guessed that one wrong, but when you get caught flat-footed on a free kick, most of the time you're not going to save that shot. And, you know, if Breeza did not get caught flat-footed, I think he would have saved the shot that Lennon was put, because the shot that Lennon put wasn't really like in the top left corner where a goalkeeper cannot save it. This one was kind of almost near the center, but because Breeza kind of got caught flat-footed and had to readjust, he wasn't able to get to that one. And yeah, the game was tied up at 3 apiece. MBS was definitely rocking, and then after that, there was just some chaos that was ensured in the final 3 minutes. Like, this is when the game really started to be wide open, and you can definitely see Atlanta wasn't just satisfied of getting the free draw. And I also wouldn't be surprised if Atlanta eventually get the fourth goal, because that was just some of what Montreal's season has been in this early part of the season. But in the end, it did end it in a free draw in probably the craziest game so far this week. Shots in this one, 16 shots for the 8 that Atlanta has, 6 shots on goal for the 3 that Atlanta has, 3 shots off target for the 4 that Atlanta has, 7 shots that was blocked for the 1 that Atlanta has, and possession-wise, 54% possession compared to 46% possession that Montreal has in this game. And yeah, I mean, this was a game for Montreal that there's a reason why they are a team that is remain near the bottom of the standing, and it's not just because of the fact that they've been involving in CCL play, and that I've talked about before. You know, teams that is involved in CCL play, they're going to struggle in the league. But just look at some of the games that they have early in this season and the way that they capitulate. They need to figure that one out. And, you know, I've said before that Wilfried Nancy is considered one of the best head coach in the league, and last season it's proven. But so far, he's not backing that up heading into second season. And it seems like he's probably having a bit of a sophomore slump with the way that he's really struggled in terms of trying to really calm these players down when things does not go right. Because right now, when things does not go right for Montreal, you know this team is going to implode, and they did it again in this one against Atlanta United. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, in Chicago and Sporting KC. So the Israel Henriksen error last week definitely finally got off to a good start with the way that they, of course, got a win, and they followed that with another win in this one against Sporting KC in a rainy Saturday afternoon at Soldier Field. Early on, though, Amelia was able to deny Shibilko as the flag, of course, went up. So even if Shibilko, of course, scored that, it wouldn't have counted. But there was no doubt that the Fire was on the front foot, though. It turns out that was kind of a little bit of a false statement, because only 1 shot was made through the first 24 games. I mean, this first half, yeah, it was not a good first half whatsoever. If you're neutral watching this, in fact, I wouldn't blame if some people decide to switch off to another game after watching the first half of this one. But surprisingly, we actually did have a goal, despite the fact that this first half was very slow. And it's actually Shibilko, the ones that scored his first career goal for the Chicago Fire from Herberts and Shaqiri. But yeah, Amelia, he clearly should have saved that one. And this actually turns out to be a nightmare game for Tim Melia. And again, I did say that this was a game that was playing in inclement weather, and it was playing on a rainy surface at Soldier Field, and that when you play in a game that is raining, goalkeeper is going to have their hands full trying to make a save on the wet ball. But the caliber that Tim Melia is, and I know Melia has gone through these games before, you expect he should at least done better with that. Like, that one looked like it just kind of hit straight toward him. He definitely got a hand to it, but not strong enough to kind of parry that one away. But like I said, that was only the second shot of the game, and it turns out by the end of the first half, we only had 3 shots in the entire game, and surprisingly still, we actually had a goal in this one, and that the Fire, of course, lead 1-0 heading into the second half. Now, in the second half, a penalty was given to Chicago as Courtney Ford chopped down Pineda in the box, which this gives a chance for Shaqiri to score his first career MLS goal, and he did. He converts in the penalty spot to give the Fire a 2-0 lead. Fontes almost scored an own goal and almost gifted the Fire a third goal, as he actually redirected the shot toward his own net from 3 yards out, but thankfully that one went wide. But then in the 56th minute, Sporting KC got one back, and it's Espinoza scoring from Fernandez and Duke to make it 2-1 in favor of Sporting KC, and that goal kind of changed the momentum a little bit, because this is when Sporting KC really started to pick up steam and was looking to try to press for the equalizer. Though in the 76th minute, Jimenez did fire one wide from long range, no pun intended there. Before on the other end, Vujanovic puts it high from close range in the 80th minute, but then in the 83rd minute, Chicago basically killed this game off, and it's Shabelko again scoring here from Gutierrez to make it 3-1 in favor of the Fire, and it's another one that it was not a good goal, and a one that Melia clearly should have saved it. Like, this one again was kind of hit toward him, and then only this time I think he was trying to make the save, and that the ball basically went under him when he was trying to dive to make a save there. And yeah, I mean, not a great moment again for Melia here, and that just it turns out to be kind of the difference in this game, because if he would have made those 2 save, this game probably could have ended in a 1-1 tie, but in the end, the Fire wins at 3-1 in this one. Shots in this one, 10 shots with the 7 that Sporting KC had, 3 shots on goal with the 2 that Sporting KC had, 4 shots off target with the 1 that Sporting KC had, 3 shots that was blocked with the 4 that Sporting KC had, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to the 45% possession that Sporting KC has in this game. And yeah, for the Chicago Fire, back-to-back win under Ezra Henriksen, and I'm starting to believe that, this is a Fire team that I haven't seen before, where I've always seen that this is a Fire team that is kind of an unknown commodity, and sometimes they can be good and sometimes they can be terrible, but right now they have been consistently good, and I don't think Fire fans are going to complain about that, especially the way that they're definitely starting to become one of the bigger surprise in the league. Consider I know they make some great signing this off season, and a lot of people highly rated that Ezra Henriksen is going to do well in the league, but even then I didn't think that they would get off to such a good start like that, especially with the way that it kind of feel like this was almost a retooling year for this Fire team. And when you go for a retool year and bring in some new players, it's going to take time to kind of adjust. But so far, I know there are times where you can still see that some of these new players still needs to kind of get to know each other and build the chemistry, which if that's the case, can you imagine how good the Fire could be if they're still in this stage, and that even in this stage they're of course winning? If they can finally get the chemistry going, this team could be an unstoppable team, and could be a team that no one said that this team was going to make it to the playoffs, and they will surprise everyone to be kind of a dark horse team before the season ends. But that being said, moving on, in terms of the next match, is history has made in Charlotte, because they have finally got their first win in their franchise history after getting a 3-1 win against New England. Now, I did say that in the preview that this was a huge opportunity for Charlotte to get their first win in their franchise history, especially against a Revs team that, they must be still feeling the after effect of that embarrassing loss against Pumas and that implosion that they had on Wednesday night. And Charlotte definitely took advantage of that, because early on, and by the way, there was some empty seats in the stadium, but it was not as much as expected. I mean, at the end of the day, I think they were announced. Actually, I'll just go ahead and say that the attendance for this game was 29,318 team fans, which, you know, that definitely is a very good attendance mark. I mean, it's not as good as when they post 74,000 in their first ever game, but, you know, to follow that, and especially with the rumor that it seemed like they're going to be playing in a half empty stadium, which, you know, if you don't include the upper bowl of the stadium, they definitely did not play in a half-empty stadium. There was actually a lot of fans that show up. And by the way, you know, I also love how when I watched the Charlotte feed of this one, they actually blocked off the upper bowl with kind of these green screen kind of mark. And I actually like it. And I thought they did a relatively good job, and definitely a better job compared to what we saw in the MLS's back tournament. Because remember, in the MLS's back tournament, they have these kind of green screen and they have these kind of ads, and it just looks absolutely ridiculous. But I thought with the way that Charlotte made it, they actually did a relatively good job in terms of, and especially I love whenever they show like the player, of course, celebrating after scoring a goal. They have that kind of goal thing in the green screen, kind of something similar to what we see with Atlanta, and whenever Atlanta score a goal, you see MBS Stadium has that little circle video board screen in the center, and yeah, basically that's. But speaking of goals, Charlotte actually got the opening goal of this game, and it's Swiderski, the one that finally opened his goal scoring account in MLS from Franco to make it 1-0 in favor of Charlotte. Little do we know that Swiderski would really, this was really the game that he announced himself that he has definitely arrived in MLS, and that he could be a lethal goal scorer for the Charlotte team, and definitely was worth the DP money that Charlotte pays him. But I thought the first 15 minutes, this was probably the best that Charlotte has looked, because they were absolutely dominating the New England Revolution early in this one. Swiderski then tried to score a second one as he hits one straight to Edwards. I mean, he was a man in form, and you can see how he basically exemplify a classic example of what happened when a number 9 finally got his goal. Like, when a number 9 finally got his goal, you know the confidence of him is going to be sky high. Though 3 minutes later, Altidore did try to tie the game up at 1 apiece, but he hits one straight to Kalina. Leggett then puts one into the stands, and I thought the Revs kind of started to woke up a little bit. I mean, in the first 15 minutes, I don't blame them for being sleepwalking, because they were still feeling the effect of the game in the middle of the week, and knowing the fact that Charlotte is going to be once again up for this game and trying to put a much better display compared to the first game in front of their sold-out crowd. But in the 27th minute, Altidore missed just high on the volley before Bai missed wide in the back post. Fuchs then had a chance to double the lead for Charlotte, but he hits it high from close range, and after that, it feels like the momentum was switched back to Charlotte. Like, the momentum was with New England after around the 20th minute mark, but then it just kind of switched back to Charlotte, and it seemed like they kind of ride out that storm that New England were putting on them in the middle part of the first half. But we do head to halftime with Charlotte hanging on to a fringe 1-0 lead. And in the second half, though, a penalty was given to New England as Kalina basically brought down Polster in the box. I mean, I like how Kalina was trying to plead his case that he did not bring or he actually got to the ball before bringing Polster down. But when you look on the replay, yeah, it was pretty clear that Kalina didn't get to the ball, and he brought Polster down in the box, which Carlos Gil basically steps up for the penalty, and he buries it. And that, of course, tied the game up at 1 apiece. And this is also when it, once again, it's going to test the character of the Charlotte team, of the fact that you've been looking good throughout this game, but you give up that killer penalty, and now the game is tied up at 1 apiece. What kind of character is the Charlotte team going to show in their early history of their franchise history? Well, at least in this game, they show that they're definitely mentally tough, because that equalizer wouldn't last very long, as 3 minutes later, Charlotte would take the lead back, and it's Swiderski, the one that scored from Bender and Rios to give Charlotte a 2-1 lead. Though, on the other end, in the 60th minute, Kalina absolutely robbed Polster from point-blank range. Like, Polster basically had a free header. And I think if there's one negative coming out of this game for Charlotte, is that they still look very disjointed in the back, and they did give up some big opportunity for New England. And if it wasn't for Kalina, who has really done well in his early days as a goalkeeper for this team, this could have been tied at 2 apiece, and who knows how this game, of course, would win. But in the 62nd minute, Swiderski then tried to score a hattie, but he missed high from close range. But eventually, Charlotte did get their third goal, and I'm pretty sure Ben Bender love the fact that he, of course, assisted to Swiderski. That, you know what, I want to get on the assist, or I want to get on the goal scoring chart too, and he does. In the 64th minute, he scored here from Alceva to score his first career MLS goal. But in many ways, this was just terrible defending from the Revs, and especially with Omar Gonzalez. I'm not sure that he kind of blew a tire, but he was kind of running stride to stride with Alceva, and then he just kind of stopped running. Like he kind of let Alceva just pull through him, and that was just terrible defending from the Revs point, but also kind of maybe a sign that this Revs defense is absolutely gas up to that point. But there was no doubt that it was party mode at Bank of America Stadium, almost at Bank of California Stadium there, because now it seems like there's two stadiums that is named after a bank. And I even wrote that the Revs defense was looking absolutely gas, like they just could not go stride to stride in against the Charlotte team. Though in the 70th minute, Heel tried to curl one in, but he missed just high before Heel tried to curl one in again, but pretty much the same result just 4 minutes later. And I also kind of wrote, Charlotte's got to be careful with the fragile 3-1 lead, because they probably saw what happened in this game, and they definitely do not want to repeat the same fate that Montreal basically did against Atlanta. Ortiz trying to make it 4-1 in favor of Charlotte, but he puts it wide from long range before Reddick hits one straight to Kalina. Walks then of course hits one wide from close range in the 90th minute. As I mentioned, the attendance at the end of the game was announced 29,318 fans, which is going to be the second highest after this week, because I don't think there is an attendance as high as we saw. So again, it's not bad. I mean, you know, I know some people were complaining that Charlotte is not going to pull in some good crowd, and they definitely proved them wrong with them pulling a relatively good, decent crowd for the second game or the second home game of their young franchise history. But yeah, in the end, that 29,000 fans was able to see their team witness history, as Charlotte would win 3-1 in this one. And the shots in this one, 15 shots for the 18 that New England has. Both teams had 5 shots on goal, 10 shots off target for the 5 that Charlotte has, 3 shots that was blocked for the 5 that Charlotte has, in possession-wise, 48% possession compared to 52% possession that New England has. And now with Charlotte getting off the stride and getting their first win of the season, let's see if they can potentially build up heading into the next game. But now moving on, in terms of the next game, we got the Blues Knot Derby between Minnesota versus the San Jose Earthquakes. And I'm not going to lie, this was a very infuriating game to watch. And, you know, at the end of the day, I did get my wish, seeing the Loons win this Blues Knot Derby against my other team, that is the San Jose Earthquakes. But in many ways, they should have won more than 1-0 in this one. And it just feels like this was a game that is a microcosm of the problem that Minnesota had throughout the large part of last season, and even in their COVID-shortened year, is that they don't have anybody on this team that can put away the ball into the back of the net whenever they're given a chance to do so. Well, actually, I say that there was definitely at least one opportunity that they did actually take advantage of it, but, you know, what I'm trying to say is that the finishing in this game was absolutely horrendous by Minnesota. But in the first half, one thing I noticed is that the turf still looked beaten up, and to think that, you know, they had 2 weeks to kind of prepare for that after, you know, that soggy game against Nashville SC. I was thinking that they at least tried to fix that up. At least that's what I thought with the Allianz Field grounds crew, but no, it seems like the turf still kind of look terrible. I mean, I'm assuming they probably did fix it up, but they definitely did not fix it up in a way where, again, it just looked bad, and it just at time definitely affect the attacking play for both teams, where the ball was just rolling very, very slowly, and in some way, it almost felt like, once again, I was watching a CCL game with those CCL game on the road and in a Central American stadium when the ball doesn't roll very well with a bad turf. But in the 5th minute, Espinosa puts it high from close range. It was once again a slow start for the Loons, which is something that's not common at home. I mean, it's more common on the road, but at home that usually isn't the case, but it was in this one. Though they did woke up in the 10th minute as Reynoso tried to curl one in from the free kick from a tight angle. It's not another poor game for Reynoso, and, you know, I'm starting to kind of have some concern with the way that he's just not contributing with this team the way that I expected him to do. I mean, you know, I'm assuming eventually he's going to show that quality, and also it doesn't help the fact that, you know, he's pretty much being double teamed every single game. But, some of the best players in the league, they kind of had that same treatment when they face opposition, and there's a reason some of those players are still able to thrive even when teams trying to double them. And right now, I don't think Reynoso is kind of one of those players. And I don't want to use the B word just yet with Reynoso, but if you continue had these poor performance in a row, there could be a case that he might get that treatment, especially under Adrian Heath, where Adrian Heath is definitely notorious as a head coach that will put player in the bench and also put him in the doghouse. But in the 19th minute, Gio fired one into the one wall from long range before Arriaga fired one high also from long range. Amaria then tried to chip JT Marcinkowski from long range, but he missed that one high. And I also kind of wrote, is this one of these games where both team finishing is going to be non-existent and it's going to end 0-0? The answer to that is no, because in the 32nd minute, Minnesota finally got their deserved lead, and it's Amaria that scores to give the Loons a 1-0 lead. It was a great goal from Amaria, where that was a beautiful delivery from Le to give it to Amaria to score. Apparently there was actually a deflection there. That's the reason why Le didn't get the assist. But I also kind of wrote that was typical Quakes defending. I mean, I've seen this so many times when they let player completely unmarked in the box, and I'm not sure who, of course, was marking on Maria. It might have been Calvo, and if it is Calvo, then, I mean, I knew that was going to happen, because you knew that I just feel like coming into this game, there's going to be at least one moment Calvo, when he's faced against his former team, and he's going to make a mistake that will contribute a goal to his former team, and it seemed like that was, of course, is the case in this one. And yeah, Minnesota, of course, get that 1-0 lead. Maria almost made it 2-0, but he fired one right into JT Marcinkowski. Maria then fired one from long range, but this one he hits it into the stands. I mean, the Loons, their terrible finishing problem is back. Like, I've seen this story so many times where they could have been 2 or 3-0 up if their finishing was a little bit better, but because their finishing is not good whatsoever, it's still a 1-0 lead. Calvo then, I thought he only got a yellow, or Calvo actually only gets a yellow card despite the fact that he puts a tough challenge on Lud, and I thought Calvo got lucky here because that challenge was a very CCL level type of challenge, and a challenge I've seen before that it has been given red, especially when they do go to VAR to check to see if that's the case. Now, they didn't go to VAR in this sequence, but that could have easily been a red card, and that, again, I feel like Calvo got away with that one. And I feel like maybe in some way it's good the fact that wasn't a red card, because knowing this Minnesota team, even when they're up a man, and how they don't know how to play up a man, especially from what we saw the last time when we had a Blues not derby, I think it's for the best that this game stays 11v11 instead of the Loons having a man advantage for the remaining of the second half. So we go to the second half, though, with the score still 1-0 in favor of Minnesota. Lud trying to make it 2-0, but he fires it high from close range. And, I also thought that the Quakes were playing opposition half is lava with terrible turnover. Like, I'm pretty sure they're like, yes, we're down 1-0, but we also want to fire our head coach. So we're just going to, every time we get into the half mark, we're just going to give the ball over. We don't care that we need to, of course, win that. And I'm not saying that as kind of sarcasm. That actually is exactly what happened. Like, every time when the Quakes trying to go into the Minnesota half, they just give the ball away right back to the Loons. Although in the 56th minute, on the one rare time when they were able to penetrate through the Loons back line, Kikanovic puts it just wide from close range, and originally I thought that was going to go in, and that would have been a classic Minnesota moment for them to give up a goal despite being so dominant throughout this game. Though Marcinkowski did deny Juana from close range in the 64th minute, it was another great game for Bongo Juana in this one, and if only his finishing was a little bit better, boy, we would have had a really good attacking threat going forward in this one. Though in the 65th minute, Lud had a looping volley that originally looked like it was just going to go high, but man, Marcinkowski had to scramble to get back, and if he didn't tip that one over, it would have been in the back of the net. Like, that would have been one of the weirdest looping volley goal I've ever seen, but it wasn't meant to be, with Marcinkowski making a good save to deny that. The terrible finishing from the Loons is going to haunt this team back. I mean, I've seen it before. It's going to haunt this team back with the way that the longer they keep this at 1-0, the more that I believe that the Quakes are going to come back. And knowing the fact that the Quakes have known for their late game heroics, it seems like it was bound to, of course, happen. Though Lund missed wide from close range in the 84th minute before in the 3rd minute of stoppage time. This was probably the best opportunity that Minnesota has. And I know there's been a lot of opportunity, but this is probably one that it should have clearly put into the back of the net, as Fragapane basically went through and go. He was one-on-one with JT, though I will give credit to Mark Zinkowski here with the way that he kind of closed down Fragapane, or he actually made himself as big as possible, as you should be when you're facing a one-on-one situation if you're a goalkeeper. And he basically cut down Fragapane before Fragapane tried to round the goalkeeper. But yeah, in the end, the Loons did able to hold on to the 1-0 lead. And I mean, I know there wasn't really much pressure that the Quakes, of course, were put, but yeah, again, it just feels like this was a game they should have won 2 or 3-0. And the shots in this one, 13 shots compared to 6 that the Quakes had. No shots on goal compared to 5 that Minnesota has. 5 shots off target compared to 7 that Minnesota has. Both teams had 1 shot on block, and possession-wise, 38% possession compared to 62% possession that the Quakes has in this game. And I'm really hoping this problem that I saw tonight from the Loons with bad finishing is just maybe just a one-off thing, and that maybe the next game they'll finally be a little bit better in terms of their finishing, because you know they do this again against a much quality opponent, they are going to get punished. But that being said, you know, for the Quakes, I mean, you know, in some way I was hoping they would lose like 4 or 5-0, because that would add the pressure on the front office to maybe think about firing Almeida. But because of the fact that they only lost 1-0, and the way that I guarantee the front office probably didn't watch this game, or even the owner John Fisher didn't watch this game whatsoever, they're gonna pretend that, yeah, you know, yes, we lost, but at least we put a valid effort to able to only lose 1-0 against a relatively good Western Conference team. And again, this is why I was hoping this is going to be a big victory for the Loons, because I was hoping eventually this will give more pressure toward Almeida of potentially getting fired. And, you know, every Quakes fans, including myself, is at that level where, yeah, we're not really going to take this team seriously anymore, unless if 1 or 2 or even both of these things is going to happen, and that is Almeida eventually is shown the door, or the fact that John Fisher decided to one day sell this team. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last 3 games that happened in terms of the Saturday night action of match week number 4. But moving on, in terms of the next match, we got Dallas and the Portland Timbers. And, you know, for the U.S. heading into this final World Cup qualifying window, there is this big question of who exactly is going to be the number 9 in these final 3 World Cup qualifying game, and whether or not, if they do find a number 9 that can score the crucial goal that could potentially push them to the World Cup in Qatar. And after this game, I think Jesus Ferreira might have just thrown his name in the hat of a player that wants to be the number 9 for this U.S. men's national team, because you can clearly see in this game he was a man on a mission, and he was hoping that maybe Greg Berhalter watched this game and maybe decided that maybe Ferreira is going to be the guy that leads the line for the U.S. heading into this World Cup qualifying window. But in the first half, Velasco was able to hit one straight to Ivicic before Cervenia also hits one straight to Ivicic. And it was a promising start for Dallas, and they were rewarded by that in the 26th minute when Ferreira would score from Velasco and Palmico to give Dallas a 1-0 lead. 4 minutes later, Ferreira would score again, this time from Nanu to make it 2-0. And then 6 minutes later, Ferreira would score again to complete his hat-trick as he scored from Cervenia to give Dallas a 3-0 lead, though this was one that, yeah, I think Ivicic probably could have done better. I mean, it wasn't really the hardest hit ball that Ferreira basically hits this one, and Ivicic did get a hand to it, but not strong enough to palm that one away. And yeah, just like that, Dallas were up 3-0, and Ferreira, you know, I'm not sure this is the fastest hat-trick that I've seen a player did in a span of 10 minutes, but one thing I do know is that this is now this hat-trick that Jesus Ferreira scored, of him becoming the second youngest player in MLS history to score a hat-trick. The youngest happened last year with Ricardo Pepi at a tender age of just 18 years old. And we do head to halftime in this game with Dallas leading 3-0. Now in the second half, it was almost 4-0 if it wasn't for Ivicic making an incredible save, robbing Velasco on the header. I thought Alan Velasco had a good game in his first ever start for Dallas, and was very unlucky to not get a goal in this one, unlike the last one. He also had another chance just 1 minute later, but he hits the side netting from long range, and Dallas was really pick up where they left off and press for a 4th goal. Though in the 51st minute, Pauls had to make his first save, denying Blanco, and really that was Portland's first good look. Velasco then missed wide from 12 yards out in the 56th minute. But then in the 60th minute, Nycfc would score his first goal of 2022 from Blanco to make it 3-1 in favor of Portland. There was a hint that whether or not if that was going to be offside. It wasn't given offside, so the goal stands. And that goal really kind of changed the momentum a little bit, because up to that point, it was pretty much all Dallas. But this is when the Timbers really started to push to try to get one back too. And if there's one thing we know about 3-1 leads, especially after this week, it's not safe whatsoever. Asprilla missed one just high from close range in the 62nd minute. The momentum was clearly with Portland. Paz then had to make an incredible full stretch save to deny Ayala there. I mean, when you look in real time, that was just an incredible save. Like, that one looked like it was going to go in from the bottom right corner, but Paz full stretch able to just fingertip that one to deny Ayala's first career MLS goal. But in the 77th minute, Dallas finally killed this game off, and it's Paul Arriola scoring his first goal for Dallas from Ferreira to make it 4-1 in favor of Dallas. So, not only Ferreira got a hat trick in this game, but also he was on the assist chart for the 4th goal for Dallas, and there's no doubt he's going to be the player of the week. Like, anytime when you, of course, score a hat trick, you're pretty much automatically guaranteed as the player of the week. But especially, even if there is going to be another player scoring a hat trick in these last 3 games that's going to be happening on Sunday, I think Ferreira is still going to get the man, or not the man of the match, but the player of the week. I mean, he was the man of the match in this game, but certainly the player of the week award with him pretty much involved in all 4 goals that Dallas scored in this game. And speaking of which, that would be the final score of this game as Dallas win 4-1 against the Timbers. Shots in this one, 14 shots for the 12 that Portland has, 8 shots on goal for the 4 that the Timbers had, 5 shots off target for the 4 that Dallas had, 3 shots that was blocked for the 2 that Dallas had, and possession-wise, 49% possession compared to 51% possession that the Timbers has in this game. And again, we'll see whether or not if Jesus Ferreira is going to get a shot in this World Cup qualifying window. I mean, I know people are still going to just say that maybe P-Fuck is going to be the guy leading up the line, but, maybe Ferreira could come off the bench, especially in the game against Mexico. And, if you're Greg Berhalter, you definitely want to choose a guy that is definitely in good form and maybe are coming off of a big game. And Jesus Ferreira certainly has done so, and we'll see whether or not if he is going to maybe get a shot in that game against Mexico. But as for the Portland Timbers, it was kind of a frustrating loss, and I think this also is kind of one of those games that the score didn't really implicate the fact that the Timbers played really badly. I mean, I thought they really kind of pushed Dallas around, especially in the second half, to trying to get themselves back into the game. But it's always hard when you, of course, go 3-0 down in the game and then you start trying, and especially the fact that they basically were just in the way of a Jesus Ferreira hat trick in the first half. Now, moving on, in terms of the next match, we got the Houston Dynamo and the Colorado Rapids. And, throughout this review, I talked about a lot of goalkeeping mistake that a lot of these goalkeeper made during the Saturday action. And this one was pretty much sums it up, because, both of the goals that were scored in this game was because of goalkeeping mistake. Though, I think at the end of the day, Colorado will be very frustrated the fact that they were the one that commit the goalkeeping mistake that happened literally right on the stroke of the time where they were bound to get all 3 points against the Dynamo. And in some way, I would also say the Dynamo kind of got lucky in this game and stole a point away out of this one. Now, early on, Clark was able to deny Lewis from close range before Barrios hits one straight to Steve Clark. There was no doubt that Colorado was controlling the game and looking for the opener, and they get the opener in the 42nd minute for the second consecutive week. Mark-Anthony Kane would score from Wilson and Price to give the Dynamo the Rapids a 1-0 lead. And unsurprisingly, that comes off of a set piece, because we know the Rapids are the kings of set piece, especially from the corner. But yeah, this also was not a great moment for Steve Clark, who he did try to punch that one away. And, when you're a goalkeeper and you miss a punch, yeah, you're basically in big trouble, and that was the case with this one, with Clark missing the punch. This one just go right to Mark Anthony, who was just left wide open in the back post. I mean, you can question, how in the world did Mark Anthony get left that open in the back post, but, I think this one is mostly on Clark. If he punched that one away, that ball wouldn't have even got to Mark Anthony K in the first place. But, yeah, Mark Anthony K, surprisingly, make no mistake, punish the Dynamo with that mistake and give the Rapids a 1-0 lead. Now, the Dynamo did try to equalize straight away as Vieira just missed high from close range, and we head to halftime with Colorado leading 1-0 against the Houston Dynamo. Now, in the second half, Vieira, I thought he should have scored as he missed a free header from 4 yards down. It's been a rough start for Sebastian Vieira in a Houston Dynamo jersey. I mean, I know things eventually is going to get better for him, but so far in his performance in these first couple of games, it has definitely not lived up to the price tag that the Dynamo pay to get him during this off season. But there was no doubt that Houston was on the front foot and was controlling the possession. Offerson hit one straight to Yarbo before Quintero fired one high from long range in the 71st minute. He does the same thing just 1 minute later, this time from close range. And the Houston Dynamo was really starting to throw the kitchen sink to try to get the equalizer, and they did get it in the 90th minute. It's Pasher scoring from Rodriguez to tie the game up at 1 apiece, but this was just an absolute gift that William Yarbo has gotten. Like, he basically present the Dynamo. I mean, he literally just cleared a goal kick right into Rodriguez, and Rodriguez basically just feeds it to Pasher, who easily puts it into the back of net. And yeah, I mean, just a blunder of a mistake by the Colorado goalkeeper, and that of course ties the game at 1 apiece. Acosta then tried to give the Rapids the lead back, but he puts it wide from 24 yards out before Rodriguez also puts one straight to Yarbo in the 4th minute stoppage time. And in the end, it ends in a 1-1 draw in a game that was filled with some goalkeeping mistake, but most importantly, Colorado certainly will be very disappointed with this result. I mean, it's not often you see a road team being disappointed after getting a point, but when you make a mistake in the last minute of the game like they did in this one, yeah, this would feel more like a point or 2 points drop than actually earning a point in this game. But in terms of the shots in this one, 13 shots for the 8 that the Rapids had, 3 shots on goal for the 4 that the Rapids had, 6 shots off target for the 2 that the Rapids had, 2 shots out of block for the 4 that Houston has, and possession-wise, the Dynamo did have the better of the possession, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that the Colorado Rapids has in this game. But now we move on into the last game of the busy Saturday action of week number 4. So I talked about throughout this review, as I mentioned, there's been a lot of goalkeeping mistake, but if there's one goalkeeper that didn't make a mistake and actually stand out from the Saturday action, is Zach McMath. I mean, he had an incredible performance in this game against Nashville, and there was no doubt that he was pretty much the reason why RSL pretty much stole all 3 points away from Nashville in this one. Now, in the first half, just 2 minutes into the game, Bobby Wood would score from Jester Miram to give RSL a 1-0 lead. By the way, I said in the preview that I think this one was going to end 0-0. Yeah, that did not last long for this game to not end 0-0. In fact, I think this is the fastest goal we've seen so far scored this season. But in many ways, this goal comes of a big Achilles heel that Nashville has had throughout their past couple of seasons. I mean, I said before, as good as Nashville is in terms of their defense, they have a lot of problem in terms of defending set piece, and it's not a big surprise here. They give up a goal on a set piece, and that Wood basically just did a better job out jumping one of the Nashville defender and puts it into the back of the net. And yeah, RSL with a dream start in this one, leading 1-0. Though McMath did rob Mukhtar from close range in the 21st minute. I mean, Mukhtar, I think he's going to have nightmares of Zach McMath after this game, because there were so many chances that he had in this game that was basically being robbed because of McMath making some big save. Though Nashville did restore parity in the 24th minute as Walker Zimmerman would score from Mukhtar to tie the game up at 1 apiece. I mean, anytime when a ball is coming into the box, you know you got to lock down Walker Zimmerman, because he's probably one of the best aerial threat defender in this league, and it's no surprise that when this ball comes in, Zimmerman was there to meet to that one, and RSL didn't do a good job in terms of marking him there. And yeah, the game was tied up at 1 apiece in the 24th minute mark, and there was no doubt the momentum was with Nashville, and they was trying to press to go ahead in this one. McMath was able to deny Mukhtar from long range in the 38th minute before Lovett struck the post from 10 yards out. Though on the other end, Schmidt almost give RSL a surprising lead right on the stroke of halftime. I mean, I say surprising because that was almost a goal against the run of play, because Nashville was the better team up to that point. But he missed Hyde on the volley in the first minute of stoppage time. But the good news is he did make an amends of that miss in the second half, because just 9 minutes into the second half, he would score from Chang and Ruiz to give RSL the lead back at 2-1. Then on the other end, McMath denied Mukhtar after just a bad giveaway from RSL. And then he would deny Mukhtar again in the 67th minute, this time from long range. I mean, as I said, you know, there are so many times where Mukhtar has, like, what, I think 5 or 6 chances in this, and McMath just simply saying, no, you're not going to score a goal against me tonight. But again, Nashville was pressing for the equalizer. McMath denied a free header that Lovitz had in the 85th minute. And then in the 86th minute, he would deny McCarty from 19 yards out before Mukhtar tried to score a late equalizer, but he basically fired a volley high. And all these missed chances for Nashville must have got into their head, because in the 6 minute stoppage time, Dax McCarty basically got himself sent off after stepping on Davis. And I had to make sure that was Dax McCarty, because this was very unlike Dax McCarty, a guy that we know he is definitely a legend in MLS, and he's definitely one of the biggest competitor in this league, but we usually never associate with him of making really some stupid decision or just kind of lose his cool so easily. And here, you know, it was kind of unexpected of him just losing his cool. I mean, Davis did trying to go in the corner and trying to milk some clock down, as it is the case when you're winning late in the game. And McCarty just kind of snapped. Like, he literally got frustrated with it, and as Davis was fouled, he basically just stomped on him because he wants to get the balls. And I won't be surprised that Dax McCarty not only is going to be suspended in the next game, yeah, he could maybe be served a couple more games, because yeah, that was just absolutely no need of what he did. And again, it's a big surprise for a veteran like Dax McCarty to lose his heads like that. That's just unlike him in many ways. But again, it's going to be something that could cost him a couple of games. But in the end, RSL was able to hold on to win 2-1 in this one, as the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to 10 that RSL had. 8 shots on goal compared to 2 that RSL has had. 6 shots off target compared to 7 that Nashville has. 2 shots on block compared to 1 that Nashville has. And possession-wise, 58% possession compared to the 42% possession that RSL has in this game. And there was no doubt that, I think, despite the loss, this was probably the best game that Nashville has played, especially on the attack. But unfortunately, they just met a guy called Zach McMath, who just decided that he's not going to let anything in except for the goal that he let in the 24th minute from Walker Zimmerman. And yeah, in the end, that was kind of the big reason why he was able to give RSL all 3 points and continue what has been probably the most surprising team to start the season. Like, nobody would have thought that RSL would be getting the start of the season with them winning 3 out of their first 4 games. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for the long review of looking at 11 games that happened on Saturday. Again, later tonight I will finish reviewing all the games from match week number 4 by taking a look at 3 games that happened on Sunday. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys see a like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of this video and all 11 games that happened on Saturday. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.